Welcome, welcome all. It has been quite a while since I've done one of these things, and I want to assure you there's not a good reason for that. But I was able to get someone else in that they asked me about it. I believe you're coming off of 10 years, if not more than that. You've been around about as long as I have. I remember you, and I remember how you caught on very much as a popular stage maker, and you also made a couple characters. But that is not why we are here. We're here to discuss the first thing that you made, the first thing that made you question if you were going to do this as a hobby, and of course the first thing that made you realize that this was for you. How are you doing, Mr. GT Yzan? Am I pronouncing that right?
That's Zan. The Y is silent.
Great. I've already made a huge mistake.
It's pretty common, man. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really known how to pronounce your name in over all these years. I just kind of guess with people, and luckily I just type it, and that makes it easier for me. So the first question that I have for you is, where did it all begin? How did you find out about M.U.G.E.N?
Oh, man. So, maybe 10 years back, I was visiting my dad up in, Manhattan. And I would stay up late just watching random videos on YouTube and stuff, fighting games. I searched in YouTube, Ryu X Sakura. Now, I wasn't looking for anything nasty. I'm just messing around here.
It's a great way to find something nasty, though.
Oh, yeah. X anything. And then I see Ryu and Sakura versus Scorpion and Shao Kahn. I'm pretty sure that video was still up, but that was the first M.U.G.E.N video I ever saw. So I saw it, I watched it, and I started thinking to myself, what is this? Like, how are these characters fighting each other,
Right.
I saw the related videos, and I saw Tetsuyu Togi, Shadow Dio, like all these fighting games I've never heard of. I saw Evil Ryu and Evil Ken, and I kind of just branched off into this new universe that was really new and fresh to me.
I don't think I quite ran across it from YouTube. Warranted, someone just gave it to me, but I kind of knew about it and forgot about it several years beforehand. But anywho.
Oh, that's not nearly as magical, man.
It's not. I mean, if I would have saw it in video form first, I would have been like, what in the fuck am I looking at? But unfortunately, I saw it in screenshot form first and immediately thought it was fake until I played it, and there I was. So you gave me your first creation, and you're one of the first people to give me a stage. In fact, I think you are the first to have your first creation be a stage. So what brought you to this thing that you created? Like, what was your inspiration for this stage?
So back in, 8th grade, I would just download tons and tons of free games. And one of the games I downloaded and I'd play on my days off from school was Little Fighter 2. It has its own little following, and it's just like a game with these chibi characters who just fight each other, and there's a lot you could do. But I had M.U.G.E.N downloaded, and I wanted to get into learning how to create and things like that. So this was this game, this Little Fighter 2 game, it actually had all of its assets, out in the open. It had the sprite sheets for the characters, it had stages for the characters, just in BMP format. So I took one of the stages and I stretched it a little bit, and that was my first stage.
I definitely understand that route as many people.
It's probably the most simple stage that you could make. It's just a one-layer dungeon stage with a floor that has reflection. Yeah, that's the first thing I ever did.
That's actually better than my first stage. I couldn't even figure that out. And neither could I for the second and eventually third and final stage, where I called it quits and realized that I sucked at everything that was not related to a character. And I just let it go. So, you said it came from Little Fighter 2. And, well, there's not too much going on that stage since it's a single image. So I can't really ask you about design choices and whatnot. What did you like the most about your first stage?
I like just the fact that I could make it, just the fact that I had put something into the engine. Back then when I started, I was maybe 13 or 12 years old, and the fact that I was able to make anything was in itself amazing to me. I do think the stage itself is a simple design, but it is really cool. Given I had much better assets back then, I probably wouldn't have known what to do with them anyway. So I think as a starter stage, I think it's all right. As a starting design, it's okay.
It seemed like it was a good footnote, and you got to start somewhere. That's where people kind of get confused nowadays, but nevertheless.
Yeah.
It was a great addition for its time. So what was the biggest challenge you faced while creating the stage? Like, what were some of your hurdles?
In this stage in particular, I guess I kind of cheated because if I'm not mistaken, that Little Fighter 2, with all the assets being laid out just for use for everyone, I'm pretty sure the stage already came in 256 color format. So there wasn't really that much I actually did with it. Yeah, I just popped it into M.U.G.E.N, adjusted some of the bounds and such, and that was it.
This was back in, I want to say, 2006 you did this?
I think maybe 2006, 2005.
Yeah. So around that time, we were using, I'm trying to think of what proprietary thing people were using to edit things.
I think Mugen Character Maker was a very popular one.
Yeah.
MCM, yeah.
Yeah, I tried to get into that, but luckily Fighter Factory came out like right around the time I got serious with everything.
Mm-hmm.
Let's examine this stage from this year and take a peek back at it. What would you tell yourself about this stage? Like, if you saw this stage for the first time, what would be some of the words you'd have for yourself?
Oh gosh, you mean right now? Like, if I could talk back to myself back then, I mean, it'd be really tough to say, because it's not really whole lot of feedback you could give on, something that's single layer, something with no animation. So I guess maybe add like a fog, or maybe try to find some fire or some torches, or just something to spice up the environment itself.
Yeah, it's about all you really can say. Any advice I would have for my first stage would have just been quit while you're, just quit. Don't even try to, while you're ahead, just stop.
That's the wrong kind of attitude, man.
It kind of is, but honestly, it worked out for the better for me. So, where was some of the first places you've been to when you found Mugen? Like, what community were you in first, and what was that like for you?
So going back to my YouTube story, the day after I discovered that Ryu, Sakura, Scorpion, Shao Kahn video, I started to do research on like Mugen just from that single word alone. And the first place I found was Mugen Infantry. And this was back when they had that Charlie Cammy logo with the Valento and all that.
Oh yeah, that takes me back.
Yeah, and I tried to sign up for the forum that day, but I didn't have an email address. I was only like 12 or 13 years old, so I couldn't sign up. So I ended up just kind of ghosting the forum for a little while, and eventually I joined. Back then, it was an all right community. That's probably the first place. I guess you could say it's my home before I got banned. That was my first spot, really.
And how did you get banned?
Oh man, what a story! So okay, one thing I used to do, during my time away from the computer, because I had very, very limited access to the internet, I would make these sprite comics by taking sprites from Kong's Pocket Fighter characters, and I just assemble like these little comics. And I didn't know where to post them. So one day I ended up posting one of them in a Mugen screenshot thread over at Mugen Infantry. And I put like a little caption with the screenshot that said something along the lines of, "I'll F you up," or something like that. And I guess Aztec thought I was talking to another member. So then he warns me. And then I leave the forum for a day, and then I come back and I see that I'm banned.
Wow.
So then I speak to Aztec and Claude Speed and Agent 6 in private message on MSN, rest in peace. And then they tell me that somebody spammed the forum with gay porn, and it had my IP address on it. I don't know, but that's pretty much the story of how I got banned from Infantry.
That is one hell of a leap from a sprite comic to apparently someone of your IP address posting gay porn. Spam bots are a funny thing. It is not the first time Mugen Infantry would have been spammed with nonsense. That forum was something special. I mean, it was my home too.
Right, because they ended up spamming themselves with nonsense in the later years. So I guess I was just doing some foreshadowing there.
Yeah, you got out while it was nice and early. You didn't have to go through a bunch of silly ass things like I did, questioning rules and whatnot. So, during your early times, while you were making stages and figuring out your place in this Mugen world, did you ever ask for help of any kind?
Oh, man. Early on, not really. I was still just finding myself. That sounds so weird to say, but about Mugen. But I started off with like stages and things. And, after I got banned from Infantry, that's really when I started making more stages and screen packs and things. I went over to Infinity Mugen Team, and, I didn't really get like feedback or little hints of improvement and things like that. So I didn't really reach out to others for help until maybe I started making characters and such. And then I started asking people to, hey, could you test this? Could you see if this is cool? So early on, no, I didn't really reach out to others. But then again, my resources and my human resources were kind of limited back then.
Okay, just for shits and giggles, what was the first actual character you made?
First character? Okay. And there's still footage of this. So you remember when Guild had that whole regime change where, it was the whole open source thing where basically for that whole, I guess, weekend, Mugen Guild was basically an anarchy, over the whole open source, warehouses are okay with us. They released that list of creators who were open source and such, and Mouser was on that list. And I really like some of Mouser's stuff. So I took his Keith Wayne, I deleted all the moves, and then I, just added my own little coach, trying to learn things, and I put it out as a character called Sorrow. And it was, yeah, you could still probably find footage of this, but the character is Sorrow. He was like this dark character. He uses Keith Wayne's dizzy animation as like his normal standing animation. And Yeah, I think that would be considered my first real attempt at a character.
Wonderful. Just wonderful. I mean, I can't really say anything since I'm responsible for that whole nigga shit going on. What I can say is that's entertaining. It varies. I'll have to track down some footage and splice that in or something.
Yeah, check it out, man.
Say someone came up to you today and asked you, like, I want to do things with Mugen. What do you think I should do? Like, what would be the advice you'd give this person if you wanted to start working with it today?
Oh, don't be afraid to ask for help. That I think that's the most important thing. And also do what you like. It may seem daunting and it might seem difficult at first, but it's the most important thing to stay motivated and want to learn and grow is to do what you like and to find something that makes you feel fulfilled. Like if you want to make Ryu from Third Strike, even though we already have 200 of those, go ahead and do it. Just try your best, ask for help. And in the process, you're going to make sure you learn. You're going to make sure that you're asking for help, you're getting feedback and you're applying it, you're receptive. That would be my main thing to tell somebody who's trying to get into the engine now.
And I think that would be most appreciated. Mugen's been around for so long these days, it's just getting more and more weirder to think about the fact that I'm still around. I feel like a relic from the past that doesn't know how to stop. But in any case, do you have any last words for our listeners?
Yeah, for anybody out there who wants to get into the engine, just go for it. Just go for it. Take any steps necessary. If you want to make Ken, go ahead, make Ken. You want to make Spider-Man, freaking do it. Just make sure you ask for help and make sure you put your own spin on things,
Fair enough. Thank you, Yzan, for dragging this series out of the pit of no return, one. And two, for sitting down and chatting with me today. And I hope that people will enjoy it just as much as we have.